Hello world of YouTube and welcome to my Tyler the Creator Discography Review, the segment where I take a look at an artist's studio catalog, rank it, and try to give you guys a roadmap as well as an entry point to their discography, along with just talking about all their studio records in full. This was the latest viewer winner poll on my Twitter, which if you want to follow me on Twitter, link down there, gives you insight onto what I'm making, what I'm posting, what's going to be going down on the channel. And Tyler the Creator is one of the bigger names to pop into the hip-hop scene this decade. Tyler has had this full-blown evolution as an artist throughout his time, his almost 10 years in the public eye as an artist. He's gone through a full evolution of a Sonic character, and today I'm going to be breaking down all of his records. Now, I'm also going to be including Bastard, so there are 6 albums up for the discussion today.
He does have one significant EP in the form of the Grinch soundtrack that he recorded last year, and I gave my thoughts on it, so if you want my extended thoughts, they'll be linked in the description. It's in one of my listening log asides from last year. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was solid. I really enjoyed the Grinch theme, and I didn't think there was anything horrible that came from it. It was just kind of a nice little pop-centric side piece that he did.
And with that out of the way, let's get into it. So this record has aged the worst to me. It has just a lack of focus in a big way. Yes, it's raw. Yes, its production is very gritty, but to a poorly constructed degree, where Goblin and Bastard, to a large degree, had this very lo-fi, cobbled-together style. It doesn't feel fleshed out or evolved in any way on Cherry Bomb. You know, I do like some of the tracks. I love Find Your Wings and Two-Seater, and I think the moments like that where he infuses a little more R&B sound into his production, it works, you know, but tracks like Def Camp and Buffalo, where he's trying to emulate his idols like Kanye and Pharrell in big ways, or tracks like Cherry Bomb, where he's almost just sounding like Death Grips, just don't do anything for me. I think his persona feels played out by this record in the instances where it's there. Not to hate on all of the lyrics on here, as I do like tracks like Smuckers, where he's talking about his life getting better as he got famous. He's reflecting in a very positive way, which felt different for Tyler. But the shoddy production and a lot of the not as biographical lyrics bring this thing down big time for me. I don't really recommend fans of Tyler the Creator, if you like any of his discography, really get to this point. This is the one record where you can kind of cherry pick songs that are on here and find the ones that you like and keep coming back to those, because I don't think as a collective project this comes together as well as his other releases to me personally.
A real ninja with the blade and the mask had them gold.
You know, I was excited for Goblin before it came out. I really liked Bastard, and one of the videos that I made around the time that it dropped was a review for Yonkers, which isn't around anymore, because for those who don't know, the channel was hacked and deleted back in 2011, and I had to get it back. But my Yonkers review was the one, like, last bastion of musical discussion that I wish I still had before my channel was gone. I have some of my earlier reviews, but that's one that I wish I still had, because I like that song, and I like that piece of Tyler's history. You know, I think that is a great representation of what is good about Goblin from a production standpoint. It is the same ilk as Bastard, but it's fleshed out a little more. And I wish this record had a lot of that. But instead, this record's trying to be two things that Bastard I feel like was to a smaller degree, but it's derivative in one instance and sticks out like a sore thumb in the other. I'm talking about a sequel to Bastard, which I feel like is where it gets derivative with tracks like Bitch Suck Dick and Sandwiches, you know, trying to be like another Tina and another French. You know, I feel like Her is trying to be Bastard, but a little more focused about a character in the story he's trying to tell. You know, I feel like there's moments where, like I said, like Yonkers, where he expands upon the mindset of Bastard well, like on Radicals and on Window to a degree. I like the storytelling element of Window. And even the opening track, Goblin, does a good job at trying to balance the biographical stuff with the narrative of Bastard, but it just doesn't fully come together. I think it kind of gets a little muggy in the middle section with her and sandwiches. And there's some forgettable shit like fish as well. And I don't think it closes all that strongly. I feel like it could have closed with window and it would have been just fine. But yeah, this is just a much more inconsistent release than Bastard. I feel like if you liked the juvenile shit from Bastard, you'll probably like the juvenile shit from here. You'll like tracks like Nightmare and Tron Cat, which I enjoy Nightmare and Tron Cats, their sounds and stuff like that and where they sit on the record. But I think that this record was incredibly underwhelming to me personally, and I think that it is a record that I don't revisit for a reason much, because while I liked it at the time and I liked that Tyler was kind of trying to tap into something again, I felt like it was just a little too derivative for me personally.
What's your motherfucking face up?
Which Wolf kind of feels the same way, but a little better because the production sounds better. Like, I think that he's still trying to make another Bastard, but he's doing less of the lo-fi hip-hop shit. This feels more like a Pharrell-backed project, which, I mean, Pharrell was on IFHY, so that makes sense, but this has a lot of the same issues that I have with Goblin to a lesser degree. I don't feel like the biographical shit meshes well with the story he's trying to tell, even more so here, because he's trying really hard to nail down his narrative with, you know, Wolf and Tyler and all these other personalities at, you know, on the forefront that just falls apart to me. You know, again, I think the production is fine, and I like his attempt at trying to tell a different type of biographical song with, like, Colossus, but, again, it just kind of falls apart by the end of it, and it's a really, like, lofty record. I think it could use with a good trimming. You know, this album is about 4 or 5 songs too long, and I feel like because he's still trying to do fun, biographical storytelling, it gets a little misguided and it lacks a huge emphasis on focus, you know, which is weird because he struck gold the first time. I think he just tried too hard to do everything all at once, and it falters. You know, I do think the production is a lot better. I like the emphasis on the pianos and the synth stuff. It feels like the apex of this style of Tyler, this old era of Tyler, because it still has its juvenileness, but it's toned back a bit. The personal shit feels really good and heartfelt at points, or at least it sounds like he's trying to tap into something more conceptual. And I can respect the ambition of trying to include multiple characters in the story. I mean, shit, like Slater, it's a fun track, even if Frank Ocean is a little underutilized. I like Party Is Over, Campfire, and Bimmer. I think that itself is the epitome of what Tyler is trying to do. You know, and I think that it reaches that apex there perfectly, you know, but again, it just kind of falls apart in the same instances, you know. It's got good tracks, but it's not nearly as good as anything that he'll do later on in his career.
It's none around town, so I went down south, but I ended up north.
Like I said, he did start in a good place, and Bastard is still a fantastic record. It is, out of the lo-fi types of production Tyler has done, this is my favorite. Bastard is one of my favorite hip-hop beats ever. I love how it bleeds into the really brash and heavy 7. I love the bass of that song. Same with French. I love the bass in French. I love the sample work on Odd Toddlers. I love his chemistry with Earl on Ass Milk. VCR on Wheels is a really nice split song. You know, I haven't liked a split song that he's done this much since on Flower Boy. You know, I think Tina is a great example of a hype, stupid odd feature song like Domo 23. I think it has all of the stuff that Tyler's trying to do in his early career done perfectly here. You know, it's still juvenile, it's still really fucked up and dumb, and it embodies that kind of teenage mindset he ran with for a little too long, but it's in a great creative genesis here. You know, it's raw, it feels real, and it feels like it's coming from a heartfelt place without trying to respond and backpedal on criticisms too heavily, you know? And I think that was really the crux of his earlier work, is because I don't like tracks like Goblin and Wolf as much and Cherry Bomb, because he's spending so much of the record backpedaling and trying to explain himself, and I feel like that was incredibly unnecessary. You know, again, I think it works in some instances, like on Smuckers and on Colossus to a degree, and Awkward, even though it's kind of tied into the story, it kind of fits Tyler as well as a person. Bastard, man, it just felt really creative, and it still holds up to me. You know, again, looking past some of the really shitty juvenile lyrics, it holds up in a big way to me personally. I like this record a lot. And it was my favorite Tyler record for the longest time. Now, if I were to give you a place to start out of his whole discography, it probably would be Bastard, because while it has its juvenile moments, it has some really personal feeling moments, and it feels like it's tied to something special. I feel like for a guy in his teens to make something like this, some of it makes sense, but some of it just feels incredibly forward-thinking. I recommend you skip Cherry Bomb. If you want to go Bastard, Goblin, Wolf, that makes the most sense, and I'd recommend you do that, because you will pull a lot. If you like Bastard, you'll pull bits to like from Goblin and Wolf, depending on your preferences, but I feel like if you want to start anywhere in his discography, it should really be Bastard, if you ask me.
I saw a photo.
But then Tyler went and switched up his shit. Now, I've already reviewed Igor on the channel when it dropped, and link up there, wherever it's going to be. And I like this thing a lot. And like I said in my review, to clarify something that I said in my review, I wish Tyler was more of a vocal presence. I meant rapping. Because he does sing on a lot of this. And I think his singing is honed in really well. You know, on Earthquake and Are We Still Friends and I Don't Love You Anymore and Running Out of Time. His singing is great. I just wish that he rapped more. Because on the next record I'm going to talk about, he did a good job at tying his singing in with his rapping into the narrative of the record. And I get that he's trying to move away from rapping. He's been trying to do that really since Wolf, and he's been trying to move away from that lo-fi, punchy sound that he helped make a big part of the scene. But I adore the sounds on this thing. I adore the ambition. I love the instrumentals. I think he does a great job at injecting the sound that he made so popular into this soul R&B realm really well. In my review, I know I talked about it, comparing it to Childish Gambino's last record, and I still stand by that. You know, I think that this has a lot of heartfelt emotion in it, soulfully, you know. This is a better version of Wolf, if you ask me. I think that it's because its story, its persona he's trying to portray feels very indebted to himself, and it doesn't have a whole lot of shit going on. He kind of stopped being so upfront by backpedaling and stuff, and he just wants to tell stories. And I think that that's why this record is so successful, and why I like it so much. I like that it's experimental. I think it does a better job at beat switching up and atmosphere switching on a dime than Cherry Bomb did. You know, where I think Cherry Bomb is a little misguided and doesn't lack focus, or lacks focus production-wise, Igor is of a similar ilk, but it's a lot better. You know, I think that this is a great place to go after Flower Boy, you know? And if I were to recommend a place to go after Flower Boy, it would be Igor, you know? I think that it works. It works in a lot of really good ways, and I think that ending at this point, if you're traveling through his discography, makes sense as well, so I think it's good to end at his most recent record.
Like how I ain't noticed that. Fuck it, I see some familiar stuck in the cul-de-sac.
Now, I adore Flower Boy. Like I said in my year-end wrap-up from 2017, this record is so much fun. It strikes a great balance of his more personal shit that he was wanting to start writing about and his hype shit that he did for years. You know, it does the hype shit like Who Dat Boy and I Ain't Got Time. So fucking good, so fucking well. It gets me hype as shit. And I like that he even uses Lil Wayne in a similar way that Kanye used Common on Late Registration. You know, he just gives Lil Wayne just an instrumental to rap over for a little bit, and it feels really, I don't know, it fits the place in the record. You know, I don't think some of the features work all that well, like the Jaden feature, and I feel like Frank Ocean is better used on 911 and Mr. Lonely than he has been in a lot of Tyler's work, but I think it's because this record feels more emotional, it feels more personal, in the best way possible. While Tyler is saying that Igor is a character and it does kind of complement Flower Boy, this is a great foundation for that sound to blossom from. You know, this is a great new step for Tyler. It feels more mature. This is, like I said in my wrap-up, this is the record I've been wanting from Tyler since Bastard, you know, because it doesn't try to backpedal or justify anything he's done in the past. It's just something new. It's a new page for Tyler. And it sucks that it took him this long to get here, and not to say that everything he's made between Bastard and Flower Boy is terrible, but this is just such a good apex of his sound. It doesn't lose that rawness, you know, and 911 Mr. Lonely is another great version of a really disjointed idea coming together fantastically, and the intimate moments on here are as good as they are on Bastard, you know. And I feel like if you like Bastard, I don't see why you wouldn't like Flower Boy, because it has a lot of the same tight well-written verse work and hook work when it's used here, and I think he uses his guests really well, like Cali Uchis on See You Again, and Rex Orange County on the handful of tracks he's on this record. They do a great job together, and he does a good job at painting an atmosphere that feels very indebted to his early work, but just feels, again, new. It feels fresh, feels good. And I'm happy that he made this record, and I hope to see him continue adapting the sound more as the years go on. You know, I think that this is personal in the best way possible. I think that it is beautiful when it wants to be, and it still has everything that Tyler has had before. It's just mature, which is what I like the most about it. And that's why it's my favorite Tyler, the Creator record. You know, if you don't like Tyler's juvenile shit, listen to this record, because I think it'll give you a new perspective on him that you may not have seen before, and may make a fan out of you yet. Those are my thoughts on Tyler, the Creator. What do you think of Tyler, the Creator? Do you like my ranking? Do you like my review? Let me know in those comments down below. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support here and on Patreon. I have been Viral Rack. You guys have videos, lots of situations, and I'll see you another day.